King Von's name echoes in the background, but tonight the spotlight lands on Jacksonville's most polarizing figure. A chilling courtroom moment. Father meets son, whispers, "That's my boy," and the hip-hop world reels. Was this justice served or a career self-destructing in time? In this shocking, unfolding saga, we'll expose the feuds, decode the lyrics prosecutors called confessions, and trace the choices that turn clout into consequences. Stay close. The twist blindsides everyone.
The verdict heard round hip-hop. July 31st, 2025. 3.5 tense hours after retreating to the jury room, 12 strangers filed back into a Jacksonville courtroom and pronounced Hakeem Queso Robinson guilty of first-degree murder. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Cameras caught his face harden, then drift toward the defense table where his cousin, co-defendant Leroy ATK Scotty, sat stone still, equally doomed. The judge wasted no time. Sentencing will be set on September 8th, and every legal analyst in Florida is betting on life without parole. Outside, Twitter erupted into dueling hashtags. Hashtag Free Queso supporters cried racial bias and lyrical free speech. Hashtag Justice for Lil Buck celebrated a 4-year fight finally won for Charles Lil Buck McCormick's family. Hip-hop blogs lit up with the detail that pushed the verdict over the edge. 3 days earlier, Queso's own father, alleged ATK shot caller Abdul Robinson Sr., had taken the stand, studied a grainy dashcam freeze frame, and identified the masked gunman as "my son." To some, it was courage. To others, the ultimate betrayal. Louisiana legend Boosie Badass went live within minutes, blasting Blue as the worst snitch of our era, while older heads argued a father's first duty is to the living children he can still raise. Yet verdicts don't erase wounds. McCormick's mother wept in the corridor, clutching a fading photo of her son. Across town, Queso's younger siblings learned their dad might trade one prison cell for another 2-decade stretch, because cooperation capped his sentence at 20 years. Meanwhile, prosecutors hinted the Bibby homicide trial is next, and whispered that a sweeping RICO indictment against ATK could follow before year's end. For the wider rap world, the message thundered. Your lyrics, your posts, your clout plays are now forensic evidence. Drill's digital bravado just crossed the line from entertainment to Exhibit A, and no artist can ignore the precedent. But to grasp why this verdict shook hip-hop to its core, we have to rewind, back to the streets where a family legacy of violence met the booming echo chamber of Jacksonville drill, and a talented 20-something turned his soundtrack into a self-made cage. Keep that image in mind. The next chapter rewinds the clock to the very first shot that set this saga on fire.
Jacksonville, America's deadliest drill battlefield. Palm trees and Jaguars football can't mask the fact that Duval County has become the most lethal hotspot in U.S. rap. Since 2018, detectives say the feud pitting ATK, Ace's top killers, against KTA and offshoot crews like Six Block has fueled dozens of murders, many memorialized or mocked in songs and Instagram reels. The first big flashpoint hit June 5, 2018. A drive-by on Town Center Parkway sprayed a Chevy Cruze, killing 3 teens, including 18-year-old Trevon Bullard, brother of young Ian Ace, and riddling Ace with 8 bullets he somehow survived. TV anchors replayed the dash cam carnage for weeks. Inside Jacksonville streets, the scorecard had just opened. Revenge soon found a soundtrack. In March 2021, 4 ATK-aligned artists, Spinabens, Whoopa with the Choppa, Youngin Ace, Fast Money Goon, dropped Who I Smoke, flipping Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles into a golf course sing-along that casually name-checked dead rivals. The video went viral, amassing 88 million plus streams on YouTube Music and earning praise from Carlton herself, even as bloggers called it the most disrespectful diss of the decade. H-Hop Canada bluntly framed the track as the anthem of ATK versus KTA's deadly war. KTA frontman Julio Fulio clapped back days later with a spooky remix of Fantasia's When I See You, filming at the graves of ATK associates. Streams spiked, tensions followed. Over the next 3 years, detectives linked drive-bys, apartment complex ambushes, and even a playground shooting to lyrics that taunted the previous victim. Total bodies eclipsed 20, a number more common to cartel turf than a mid-sized southern city. The cycle reached a grisly crest on June 23, 2024, when Fulio himself was ambushed and killed in a Tampa hotel parking lot while live streaming his 26th birthday bash. Within 24 hours, Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters delivered a stern PSA. "We won't tolerate revenge." He warned that any retaliatory hits could trigger a racketeering case, essentially dangling a RICO storm cloud over both camps. What makes Jacksonville unique isn't just the bloodshed. It's the feedback loop where every killing begets a song, and every song invites another killing, all in plain view of YouTube algorithms and hungry fan pages. In this battleground, clout comes with a funeral cost, and views may be Exhibit A in court. Enter the Robinson bloodline, why Queso's family tree was practically a syllabus in street survival, and how a father's legacy forged a violent child.
Born into the war, the Robinson bloodline. If Jacksonville's drill feud is a wildfire, the Robinson clan supplied the driest timber. Patriarch Abdul Blue Robinson Sr. has loomed over Duval County for years, labeled by detectives as the shot caller behind ATK, aka Ace's top killers, and linked in court filings to a string of gun and drug cases. His sons grew up watching search warrant battering rams the way other kids watched Saturday cartoons. The family's nightmare tilted from simmer to boil on Jan 16, 2019. Half-brother Willie "Boss Goon" Addison, fresh out after a 10-year stretch, performed at Paradise Gentlemen's Club. Minutes after leaving, a gunman riddled the family's Nissan. Willie died on the asphalt. Abdul Sr. took a round to the back, and another brother, Abdul Jr., was wounded. Police called it gang retaliation. For the Robinsons, it was a blood oath stamped in shell casings. Abdul Jr. soon faced his own homicide charge, while cousin Leroy ATK Scotty Whitaker Jr., raised like a brother, was swept up as co-defendant in the Lil Buck murder. By the time Hakeem Queso Robinson dropped his violent child project in 2020, the family tree looked more like a charge sheet. Father under indictment as accessory, 2 sons tagged for murder, a cousin in cuffs, and federal agents whispering RICO. The plot bent further on July 28, 2025, when Abdul Sr., stooped from injuries and high blood pressure, took the witness stand under a plea deal capping his time at 20 years. Prosecutors paused a dash-cam freeze frame of a masked gunman. The father exhaled, pointed, and said, "That's my son, Hakeem." He told jurors it was the hardest decision of his life, yet admitted the bargain vanished if he refused. When the defense pressed him on self-preservation, he whispered, "Self-love first, right?" Outside, Louisiana legend Boozy Badass roasted him as the worst snitch alive, while others called it a father's final act to spare his 6-year-olds a future of prison visits. In one generation, the Robinsons embodied every fault line of modern street culture: family loyalty versus survival, rap dreams versus real-life gunplay, social media clout versus courtroom evidence. Investigators say Queso tried to turn that legacy into a career and wound up converting his own tracks into Exhibit A.
From SoundCloud stardom to self-snitching. By 2020, Queso's numbers screamed breakout. Step On Some and Been Dead each cleared 1.4 million SoundCloud plays, while his Jada Youngin collab, Can't Think, cruised past 219K streams, stats big enough to shove a local street rapper onto national playlists. The momentum snowballed when he linked with Chicago drill royalty on 5 Stars. A King Von feature that signaled Duval County's fiercest voice was now crossing state lines. That buzz peaked with the 2020 project Violent Child, but the follow-up tape Bibby Out turned acclaim into outrage. The cover brazenly pasted the faces of 6 slain rivals, including 16-year-old Adrian aka Bibby Jr., under a blood-red title, sparking furious news segments and furious mothers in equal measure. Critics called it marketing necromancy. Fans called it real. Either way, the image and the bars bragging about smoking Bibby cemented Queso's rep for converting corpses into clicks. But the same tracks fueling his rise became the prosecution's playlist. Investigators stitched together Instagram posts of victim photos captioned "Bye Bye," dashcam footage, and lyrics from songs like Dead Ops to argue Queso wasn't rhyming, he was confessing. Florida has no safeguard against rap being treated as literal testimony, and nationwide almost 700 cases have weaponized lyrics in court. In 2025, those statistics stopped being abstract. They walked into Duval County Court as Exhibit A, turning a chart-climbing catalog into the steel bars now closing around its creator.
2 murders, 1 message. The first body dropped on February 25, 2019, when 16-year-old Adrian Bibby Jr. Gaynor was cut down in the parking lot of Jacksonville's Hilltop Village apartments. Friends say the shy teenager was simply hanging out near a gazebo when 2 masked gunmen advanced with rifles and opened fire. Within months, Queso all but danced on the grave. His mixtape, Bibby Out, splashed photos of 6 slain rivals, Bibby included, across a blood-red cover, weaponizing grief for clout and enraging victims' families who saw their children turned into album art. Prosecutors later played the artwork in court, calling it a victory poster that proved motive and mindset. Exactly a year later, January 15, 2020, Charles Lil Buck McCormick Jr., 23, left a staffing office at Dames Point Plaza, thinking he'd landed a new job. A masked shooter sprinted across the lot, chased him around the building, and blasted him at close range before fleeing in a stolen silver Nissan that crashed minutes later. Witnesses dialed 911, dash cams rolled, and detectives eventually pulled a fingerprint-covered Glock from the wreckage. Queso didn't stay quiet. Investigators say Instagram posts captioned "Bye Bye" over Lil Buck's photo and lyrics bragging about smoking Bibby stitched the digital trail to the crime scenes. By the time trial opened in July 2025, the state's exhibit list read like a playlist: songs, screenshots, and streams, arguing rap had morphed into a public confession booth. Together, the back-to-back murders broadcast a brutal thesis. In Jacksonville drill, every trigger pull is amplified online. Every lyric dares the next retaliation, and the courtroom now treats chart hits as smoking guns.
The trial, lyrics, dashcams, and dad on the stand. The state's opening haymaker arrived on day 4 with Dominique Butter Barner, the admitted getaway driver who swapped a possible life sentence for a 20-year cap. Calm behind the witness mic, Barner recounted how he and Queso stalked Charles Lil Buck McCormick for days, pulling the rapper's address from Duval's public records site, borrowing a stolen Nissan, and packing 2 rifles because that diss track crossed the line. Barner's blow-by-blow gave jurors choreography. The silver Altima circling Dames Point Plaza, Queso sprinting after McCormick, shots echoing, the panic crash a mile away, and a frantic call to Big Blue Abdul Robinson Sr. for extraction. Prosecutors paired that story with a crime lab punctuator, Queso's fingerprint etched on a Glock 22 yanked from the Altima's floorboard. Dash cam footage of a lanky gunman, 6'0", roughly Queso's height, fleeing the lot played on repeat while a 3D gait analysis expert mapped the shooter's stride to Robinson's. Next, the digital dossier.
Investigators projected Instagram screenshots, a grinning Queso posting bye-bye over Lil Buck's face hours after the murder. An earlier story featuring 16-year-old Bibby captioned "Next Pack." They rolled Spotify clips of Queso homicide, dead ops, and the Bibby out cover flaunting 6 slain rivals. Assistant State Attorney Kelsey Moore framed the playlist as a mixtape confession, tapping a national trend. More than 700 U.S. prosecutions have now weaponized rap lyrics to show motive, method, and mindset. Then came the shock pivot no courtroom drama could script. July 28, 2025, a hush settled as Abdul Robinson Sr. shuffled to the stand in waist chains, plea deal in pocket. The state froze a dash cam still. Blue exhaled, pointed. "That's my son, Hakeem." He described hiding guns in his SUV and dropping the shooters on the north side before dumping evidence. Tears welled as he cited failing health and 3 small children. "I chose them over the code." Defense attorney Christopher Dust pounced, painting Barner in blue as paid witnesses bargaining for time. Dust flagged inconsistencies. An eyewitness pegged the gunman at 5'8". Another claimed Queso wore different shoes. He blasted the lyric strategy as racist double standards. Johnny Cash shot a man in Reno and nobody dragged him to court. Jurists scribbled notes, but the father's finger had already pierced the room. By July 31st, the prosecution rested, confident its mixtape meets CSI formula was bulletproof. Reporters caught jurors exchanging grim nods. The verdict, 2 counts of first-degree murder, would drop 48 hours later. No matter how the appeals roll, one lesson etched itself into hip-hop lore. In 2025, your bars, posts, and even your bloodline can testify against you with or without your consent.
Aftershocks, what the guilty verdict means. The jury's decision was only Act 1. Under Florida law, a first-degree murder conviction carries mandatory life without parole, and the court has already penciled in September 8, 2025 for formal sentencing of both Hakeem Queso and Leroy ATK Scotty Whitaker. But the calendar doesn't stop there. Prosecutors confirmed that Queso still faces a separate trial for the 2019 slaying of 16-year-old Adrian Bibby Gaynor Jr., the killing prosecutors say started the current cycle of retaliation. If the state proceeds, the same lyrics as evidence playbook will be on full display a second time. Jacksonville's streets are bracing too. After rival rapper Julio Fulio was ambushed and killed in 2024, Sheriff T.K. Waters publicly warned both ATK and KTA that any revenge hits could trigger a RICO gang indictment. Social media chatter ramped up again last week, with clips of Waters' PSA resurfacing on TikTok and speculation that Queso's conviction is the first domino. Meanwhile, lawmakers and civil rights groups are using the case to spotlight the wider trend of rap on trial. Nationwide studies count 700-plus cases where prosecutors have turned lyrics into evidence, and scholars say the practice inflames racial bias. California's AB 2799 now forces judges to treat such art as presumptively prejudicial. And new federal proposals, the RAP Act, aim to spread those protections. Florida, for now, has no similar safeguard, so Queso's catalog was fair game. For the drill scene, the verdict lands like a siren. Every post, every bar, every boast can, and likely will, reappear in a courtroom transcript. Labels are already whispering about social media guidelines for street artists. Managers are urging clients to blur real names in diss tracks. As one local blogger summed it up, clout is currency until it's contraband. The lesson is blunt. In 2025, the microphone that builds a career can also finish it.
Clout, consequences, and the question nobody can dodge. 2 bullets, 1 mixtape cover, and a father's trembling finger just redrew the border between art and admission of guilt. Queso's saga proves that in 2025, the same post that spikes your streams can spike your sentence, and the same bars that win fans can cage their author for life.
So here's the question we can't scroll past. Where does free expression end and self-snitching begin? And who gets to decide? Drop your take below. Should rap lyrics ever walk into a courtroom, or did the jury get it right? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. September 8th sentencing, the looming Bibby trial, and the whispered RICO sweep that could upend Jacksonville drill for good. Until then, remember, clout is a currency with hidden late fees, and in this game, the receipts always resurface.